me to introduce our speaker for today, Rachel Hook from Virtuous Style. Rachel is the mother of 3 world changers, which are strong-minded children. We all know those: Jess, Josh, and James, the 3 J's. That's a tongue twister this morning. And wife of Brett, coming up to 19 and a half years. Born and bred in Yarra Valley, as a musician and performer, Rachel's family of origin saw fashion of low importance as of low importance, and developing morale character of very high importance. However, 10 years ago, Rachel discovered colour and authentic personal style as a surprising tool, a tool that boosted confidence, improved her performance skills in bands with her husband, and freeing her to start expressing herself through her wardrobe. Rachel is now a personal image consultant, colour stylist, and trainer of stylists, helping her clients experience greater success in their careers through her image development programs. Rachel has a very own advanced system of colour analysis and loves teaching people about colours that harmonise best with their individual eye, hair, and skin tones. So, Rachel, we're all on the edge of our seats. Take it away.
Thank you, Neil. Well, welcome everyone. Hi, as Neil said, I'm Rachel and I am part of the wonderful Fresh Network, and I just wanted to say thank you to Darren for putting on this and hosting this series of I think it's mostly Wednesdays and Fridays, running some really, really beneficial and educational and empowering support for businesses and business owners while they're working remotely. This morning, I'm going to give you a few ideas about choosing clothing for online meetings and for workshops and for online video selling. Not as any kind of video expert, we've got Tim on the line for that, but from my perspective as an image consultant. All you need to do is make the most of what you've got, the colours in your wardrobe and the surroundings you have access to. We're restricted, we don't have decked out studios necessarily. At this time in history, we are suddenly finding ourselves having to show up on a screen rather than in person more than ever before, obviously. And what we see affects us. Sight is actually one of the most important senses, and we are built to collect information through our eyes. And I wonder if I can ask this question: do you ever find that you're distracted by what you're seeing in online meetings? Yes, a few people nodding their heads. Movement, people with cameras held at angles, drawing us to look at certain things. Faces at the bottom of screens, nostrils, ceiling, we've seen it all. And I think sometimes it makes us have to work a bit harder to know where to look when someone's speaking. And then on the flip side, do you ever get distracted by your own critical thinking when you log on and you know, if you haven't taken the time to check what you look like in the screen, do you find that your critical thoughts about how you come up and your backdrop suddenly pop into your head? Yeah. And feel free to use the chat. Love to get engagement today. I'm just going to click on that chat box. Good. So these things truly, they do distract us from truly listening and connecting and engaging with others in the online environment. So I'm just going to share my screen. Oh, actually, no. I would love to do a quick icebreaker exercise before I share my screen. And with 5-second answers, can you guys have a think? What's something funny that you have seen online in a Zoom meeting, in a call, workshops, facilitating, whatever you've been doing? Just a quick, something funny, and I want you to say it with a smile.
We did a family Zoom meeting, and my sister-in-law is quite a busty lady, and she had the camera, she had her phone, and the whole screen was filled with her boobs.
Oh, that's funny. Yes, Neil.
Yeah, no, I attended a networking event the other day online, and there was this one guy who had his wife trying to help him dial in or speak for the whole meeting. He kept unmuting his camera and disturbing everyone the whole way through, and you could just see his nostril. So it's quite funny.
Joe, don't forget to unmute.
Unmute, okay. So I was on a call with my mentor the other day. There was a group call, and one of the ladies, her young children were in the background, you know, doing this, pulling faces, and she had no idea, but we were all having a laugh.
Awesome, yeah, awesome. Joe, anyone else? Anyone else seen something funny?
At our South Yarra meeting, Sana from Aussie Home Loans, he walked away and his son jumped back into his seat. So he looked like he really defied the aging process. It was cute. That was cute to see all these kids up and about.
I think I've got 2 primary aged kids, so watching them jump on Google Meet and all the other random stuff that goes on in the other kids' houses is quite interesting. So yes.
And they can get away with it. Their kids. Oh, we all can. We're all in the same scenario and boat, aren't we? We've got time for one more. No. All right. So these are all. They're just funny, and we can all say that we're not guilty of the same things, but we are all in the same boat here, and nothing's perfect. We've got family, we've got kids, we've got lighting or no lighting. We've got a room that's separate from the rest of the house that we use. So I will now just share my screen. All right. Now, my goal for today is to empower you with ideas around clothing that will ultimately help you become more effective, engaging, and memorable in your online presentations and meetings, and for the right reasons. This is important, and I think that we're here. We've all joined this meeting because we would like to be more effective as entrepreneurs, or as facilitators, or teachers, or as a service provider. Now, the overarching goal, and I think we're aware of this, is to make your face the focal point. And I love to talk about how we can make our clothes point to us. And the outcome of that is, 1, we provide less distractions for our audience. 2, we are easier for our audience to look at, and therefore to listen to and connect with. And 3, you and your message are more memorable. I'm going to give you 5 tools that are going to help you to be glam on cam. And these 5 things I will go through in a little bit more detail. But here they are as a summary. Number 1, we're going to talk about amping things up on screen. Secondly, we're going to talk about using tools that arrest the eye to where you want it and away from where you don't want it. Number 3, we're going to talk about contrasting with what's behind us, using our clothing to contrast. And number 4, we're going to consider our hair colour and how that affects our clothing choices. You're smiling there, Darren. Is your question, what if you don't have hair?
Or if you've got grey.
Or if it's grey. Oh, yes. Well, we can get to that. Number 5, create flattering focus. All right, so I'll unpack a few of these things now. Oh, and before I go to the next slide, therefore, clothing and appearance is actually a helpful tool. So it's not look amazing to be liked. You know, it's not that at all. It's a tool that helps your audience connect with you and for you to have more confidence in your delivery online. Now, we are on a screen, therefore we can afford to amp things up a little bit. So we're all looking at each other in these tiny little screens, tiny little boxes, or if you're the main speaker, you've got the whole screen. So you're either really tiny or really big, but nothing's the same as in real life. Now, we can, as I said, afford to amp things up and brighten everything and exaggerate things. And visually, to be seen as normal, you actually have to go to a bit of effort. It's a bit like being on a stage as a performer. You get washed out by the lights. You know, from a distance, features they lack definition, and body language can be exaggerated. And the things you think you're doing are never as big, you know, with body language if you watch yourself back. And it's the same with, you know, makeup, hair, a style of clothing that you think might be dramatic. It's not really when you take a step back and look at yourself. And on a screen, if we're dulled down, which a screen does that, then the experience others have of us is not actually fully you, the way that you would be experienced as a person, in person. Okay. Number one, amping things up a bit. So exaggeration, as I said, comes across as normal. First thing is smile. We can definitely smile a lot more. And I know when I'm in the listener's shoes, I can get my listening face on and just have this blank face. But when you think about how that helps the speaker, leaning forward, there's body language, there's, I think, smiling, or even just having the smiling eyes. Have you ever tried that where, you know, you've got a relaxed face, you don't need any facial expression, but almost for the sake of the person speaking, you want to show with your eyes that you're interested and engaged. So everyone practice their smiling eyes. So no smiling with your mouth, just your eyes. Ready, set, go. All right, something to practice for later. Second thing here is wear contrasting colours, because contrast and colours are something you can use for sure to amp up your visual appearance. I'm going to have pictures and things soon, but for this slide, I'm just going to quickly go through them. Define your eyes with makeup, male, female. Those who wear makeup, you could define your eyes more because they never look as big or as defined online in a screen. And even if you think you go to trouble, then often it's still never quite as defined as you think you are. In real life, things look different. And wear a bold lipstick colour. Now, right now, my lips are defined. I am wearing a bold lipstick colour, but it's not too bold. I mean, would you agree? Looking at me, it's not over the top. All right. Use tools that arrest the eye fast. So this is the second point I want to go through. All right, arresting the eye quickly to where you want it. We want to make your skin, your face and your eyes the focus. Now, there are a few things that arrest the eye really, really fast, and that is accessories, colour, and light. Now, if I show you, actually, I'll just go through. This next one shows an example of wearing an accent colour near your face. So adding a splash of colour draws the eye of the observer to your face. Guys can do this as well with if you're wearing a tie or if you're wearing a scarf or a coloured shirt. Earrings actually accentuate the eyes. I remember when I first realised that. They actually draw attention to eyes. And the eyes are the communication centre of the body, the focal point, and we want people to engage with us here. Coloured shirts, as I said. This is one of my clients who went shopping and bought a whole bunch of shirts, and this colour, he was so surprised. He would never have chosen it, and he now loves it and wears it for business. Now, these are terrible photos. Okay, I'm just going to disclaimer. The next slide. This week, I did a little bit of a photo shoot, you might call it, where I got my daughter to take some photos because I wanted to test out a few of these things, just using what we had and the rooms that we had and the light that we did or didn't have. But lighting, I just want to talk about lighting. If I turn off the light that I've got now, you can, okay, have a look at me and how my face has a glow and it comes forward from the backdrop. And now I'm going to turn this light off. See the difference? So one, you've become alive with the light and you really amped up. There we go. So now are you drawn to my skin now? Yeah, it's no longer a flat kind of look. And when you get lighting right, whatever you're wearing looks better as well. So what you're wearing almost matters a bit less because we're drawn to our face. Here's a picture of me wearing black, and I don't wear black very often. And I'm deliberately demonstrating not so good lighting and good lighting, but I just did that in real life anyway. So that was in front of my daughter's feature wall, bedroom wall. And the black, I can't pull off black unless I have got makeup on and my hair's done well. So yeah, not sure about either of these, but you get the point. Now the next, number 3, I'd love to share with you is to think about how to contrast with what's behind you using your clothing. And I've got a few pictures here to show you. So the point is, try not to blend in with your backdrop. And the 2 things we need to avoid is busy, busy, and matchy, matchy. And what I mean is, let me find, okay, here's me in front of a bookshelf with a printed jacket. The eye just doesn't know where to rest really easily, does it? It's just like, whoa, that's too much. And then we have a solid color. So straight away, it's easier to look at my face. And the face is the focal point, therefore easier to connect and engage. If you had to look at me for a whole hour or something, I mean, I don't tend to do anything in front of that bookcase, but that was my only one to demonstrate, because a lot of people use much more elegant bookcases than that one, and they look great. But that's not really my branding either, so I don't do that. Okay, next one. Oh, just a couple of other options for solid colors. So before and after, busy, solid, all right? So you can see your eye can rest a little bit better on the green. And then the white creates even more striking contrast. So solid colors are really great with a busy background. Here's another busy background in front of my brick wall. I just went around my house trying to find busy backgrounds. And I don't typically wear warm colours, but that whole look is quite warm. But yeah, busy, and then contrasting to that, solid. And I do also talk a lot with my clients about the colour wheel, and brown and blue are actually opposite on the colour wheel. So that kind of contrast is always quite pleasing to the eye. Okay, now what do you think about this? Oh, that photo has not come up very well. Is that just my computer, or has it come up really blurry to you? Oh, okay, strange. It wasn't like that before. Okay, so that's a strange version of me wearing similar colours. The point is, similar to the background. Something's going on with all these photos. Can you, wow, okay. I'll race through these ones and get the better ones. Yeah, it's not how it came up on my other computer at all. I'm not happy about that. Okay, in front of a coloured backdrop, not many of us go speaking from a coloured backdrop, but yeah, you can go more neutral. I'm just going to skip over that. Blonde hair. That's not me, no. Where does the observer's eye rest? Now, if you've got blonde hair, has anyone on the call got blonde hair? Yeah, Joe. Megan, are you there? I think we have a few blondes here. I don't know if you've noticed, but when you've got a light colour top and you're in front of a light colour backdrop and you've got the light hair, you need a bit of contrast. Here we go. There's some contrast. So you can actually do that by wearing a contrasting top, putting on some makeup, or changing the wall behind you. If you've got a medium colour wall, go and find that. That can really help. Can you see the difference where your eye is drawn? Yeah, it just helps frame the face there. Okay, I'm just gonna, so this one's another matchy, too much brown. And here's some more contrast. So the difference, one comes away from the backdrop. Here we go. Now the point is that you can be looking at your own your own set, your own backdrop, and your own clothing. And just be thinking about these principles. Ask yourself, am I contrasting with what's behind me? Point number 4, consider your hair colour. Even if it's going grey, Darren, you can still consider it. All right, so think about the contrast level, so the depth, not necessarily the colour, the lightness, the darkness, or the strength of it. And a really, really flattering thing you can do is create a face frame with your clothing, especially if you've got medium or dark hair. So here's an example of me without creating the frame. I mean, my hair does it somewhat to a certain degree, but there's a 90% of lightness in the picture and a small percentage of depth around my face. Now, if I continue that, look what happens. Yeah, so now there's this frame, and my clothing colour is equivalent of the contrast level of my hair. Okay, so in the next slide, you'll see a picture of Liam from Fresh, and you can see that facial hair also can frame the face. I don't know if you've thought of that before. It creates a nice frame, kind of like what I had there, but I don't do it with facial hair, of course. That was at an event and we were finding eye tones, so that's why he's holding up that eye colour swatch. Now, the next point I'd love to make is create flattering focus. Angles and lines matter. So what to avoid, what this means is low camera angles and silhouettes and width that draw the focus down. Let me explain. Okay. This or this. I'll do that again. Which one is more flattering? Okay. Now, I can't see the chat, but you might have to actually unmute yourself if you want to answer. First one or second one? Second one, Joe? Yeah. Second, yeah.
Second.
Second it is. So in here, our eye is drawn downwards. I'm drawn to look at, all I notice is my round chin. And I notice width at here and across here. So I feel like my eye is not drawn to my eyes where I want it. There's no earrings to draw attention either. So I haven't helped. There's no earrings. My hair is flat against my head, and I've created this A-frame. And that horizontal, the widest line is where we all want to rest our eye, down below. So here, even just adding that little bit of lift makes all the difference. So now it's easier to connect. I mean, who would have thought? And also the angle of the camera, I think I made a point there. So from this one, the camera is actually down, and you can tell you can see my nostrils, not that that's a terrible thing, but if you look there, now you can't as much. So just that, even that tiny heightening of your camera can make a big difference. Okay. Now, why is the next slide more flattering than this one? Okay, so have a look at this. It's easier to look at my eyes in this one.
Your eyes are closer to the center in the other one, and your face fills more of the frame.
Yeah, it does. So the angle of the camera, it's picking up once again at my bust level, and it's lifted for this one. So where the camera is has changed. Now the other thing, once again, not that I would wear my home casual jumpers necessarily in my line of work for Zoom meetings. People do, and depending on whether you've signed up to a workshop as a listener or if you're trying to promote a brand, that's different. But the lines in the jumper, they stretch over the bust. So that's just something to notice, ladies, when you're dressing online. We want people to look up, obviously. Now that's some of the first 5 tips. I've got a few more things to say, but I might just pause at this point and check in. Darren, can you see the chat? I'm just wondering if there's any questions you would like me to answer or anything just yet. Not yet.
There's nothing yet.
Cool. Well, guys, make sure you pop any questions in the chat and I will answer them. I'll just keep going for now. Okay. So I like to ask ourselves, why does it actually matter what we wear online, what we wear in general? And I've had conversations with people about, well, and I've seen on LinkedIn as well, if you guys seen some posts on LinkedIn about what to wear online. And I have heard a few different views, and from one extreme being, oh, why I want to be authentic, and when I'm authentic, I help people to connect with me. And I think there's a little myth there that being authentic means not going to effort or not dressing any differently to how you dress in home clothes, for example. Whereas I think that professionalism for your job is still important at home. And if someone asks my opinion on dressing for online, I'd say, you know, tone down from the office, but perhaps not your regular house clothes. But just bear this in mind. What you wear does affect your own work performance and how you feel and your energy. Right now, you can't see my shoes, but I decided not to wear slippers for a reason. I feel that slippers, they suppress my energy and slow me down. And I wanted to, you know, present with clarity and a bit more energy than being in my slippers. So that's just something you can notice. It may or may not affect you. As business owners, as team leaders, as facilitators, teachers, we do need to be able to keep our professionalism online and leave the impression that you desire whilst remaining real and authentic. And I would argue going to some effort does not, I think you're amping up your authenticity when you know how to do it right for you. And just on this, before I go to the next slide, I would love to talk about the difference in shoulder lines that what you wear can make. And a great example is, actually, I might pause screen share so you can see me a bit bigger. Oh, thanks, Matt. He's gone. Thanks for that message. Has to go to another meeting. All right. Now, when I was getting ready for this, I jumped on early. I don't know who put your hand up if you jump onto your meetings ahead of time or set up your own meeting so you can look at yourself and just check everything. Yeah. Okay. Darren, yes, no.
Not to look at myself, just to get ready.
Yes. Well, you know what? We do need to, because everyone else has to look at us. And as we're saying, we either don't want this flatness or we want to be, avoid distractions. Now, what was I just lost my train of thought. That's right. I was going to demonstrate. Now, I do like green, and I had this other green cardigan, not cardigan, it's actually quite a really elegant cardi that sits and flows and drapes really nicely. And in the mirror, it looked really good. But when I came out here, I'll show you, have a look at this shoulder line. Okay, it's just a suede jacket, but it's a little bit stronger. It's not super professional like business suit. It's still soft, but it has a slightly stronger shoulder line. Now, let me show you the difference. Now, can you, okay, so online, it just looked really frumpy to me. It wasn't the same as what I was looking at before. You can sort of see the difference. And it's not like it's bad. A lot of what we're talking about, it's all the little things that add up. So it's not like I'm prescribing, do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. It's really just think about these things. But yeah, now my shoulder line is soft. Okay, and that gives a soft message. but it wasn't really it didn't feel right. And I think half the time you probably know if you take the time to stop and check things and look over these details, I think you would innately work out what you like and don't like. And it's not just for those looking at you, it's for you as well. You've got to feel comfortable and good in your clothing. So you can see that difference, can't you, with the shoulder line? All right, I'll go back to sharing. And Carol says, I put on shoes, not runners, for the first time in ages yesterday when I went to Studio Nunawading, and it felt fab. Yeah, I would agree. Share screen.
I'd actually forgotten how to walk in heels.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. This morning I had this millisecond thought, should I wear heels? Is that going to make a difference to my presentation? But I'm not wearing flats, but they're not slippers. And I live in Seville. I've got every excuse to wear slippers. Next slide. Where are we? It's not responding. Just a second. Can you see that, my screen? Oh, there we go. Would you refer business to this guy? Now, personal image, clothing is a form of non-verbal communication. And our clothing and how we wear it is a non-verbal cue to the world about who we are. And that's important when people especially have not met us before, or they only spend a short time with us. So do you have instant confidence that this guy could exceed at a job you were giving him to do, and that he would pay attention to detail, and that he would put you first? No? Surprising. See, what do we wear and how our image, it's a non-verbal message. He's not speaking, but we all get this sense. Well, he might be speaking to your mind. Speaking of non-verbal cues, obviously body language is also a non-verbal form of communication. And one really interesting thing I thought of as I was preparing this, I was reminded that having our palms showing, and this is what experts will teach, is a form of openness, of saying, I have nothing to hide. You can trust me, you know, like if you're in person and you've got, and so rolling up your sleeves even on camera, like if your arms are in the picture, can actually be a really great way to show your wrists and palms, and funnily enough, make people feel really comfortable around you. Now, this dude, would you refer business to this guy? In this photo, he's only 12, I think. This is my middle child, Josh. And he came on a photo shoot with my photographer and a client to help out a year ago. Anyway, he got a little photo slipped in there with his favourite jacket. But you don't know anything about him. He could be this, you know, child genius, and he wants to be a business owner and make lots of money, as though those two sentences go together. But he's stuck at school. Anyway, you wouldn't know that. So what I want to say about this point is clothing sets standards of expected behaviour. Children wear uniforms at school because that uniform defines some parameters of behaviour that the school wants to uphold, and those onlooking and the child, there's this rise to that expectation. Well, we hope there is, but the uniform actually does help what we wear. Their studies do show what we wear can affect our performance and our behaviour. And you think about say a businesswoman travelling home from work on a train, and she's wearing high heels still, and she's got a business suit on. Onlookers would expect a certain level of behaviour, but if she's sitting there with her feet up on the seat and her legs crossed and the heels, or non-elegantly, if that's a word, there's this mismatch, isn't there? So the clothing is definitely sending a message as to what people can expect from that person. Do you get that? It's why we wear gym clothes when we go to the gym. You know, runners wear runners. I mean, yeah, athletes wear running shoes for a reason. Our clothing has the power to align with our message or detract and subtract from our message. So my question to you is your image congruent with your message? And your message might be what you're saying, but it also is, who are you? And you can speak that without words as well. If we're giving mixed signals, and if there is a lack of congruency to others, it's good to know, it's good to become aware of that. If, you know, thank someone if they say, oh, I wouldn't have thought you'd, you know, you were finish this sentence. Then you have to go, well, why would you not have thought that? Maybe they've perceived you a certain way because of what you're wearing. And I think the main thing is all the little things add up to a big thing. So all these little ideas, we are not perfect human beings. There are so many things against us, especially at the moment. I mean, for me, I've got a dog that would have barged into this room if I hadn't have thought quickly at the last minute to lock the door. This room is separate from the house. I was all ready, and then I'm like, oh, it's raining. Okay, I've got to get an umbrella. And then I ended up grabbing a blanket because that was the closest. Then I came in here, it was freezing. I'm like, oh, I've got to put the heater on. And then it was still on when the meeting started. So I'm like, oh, I better turn the heater off because it's too noisy. There are so many things. There's just often not the time to think about all this. So what I would say is put aside some time to think about this. And that's why you're on this call up, would be my guess. And I am landing the plane. We're approaching the runway and we're going to have questions soon. So being glam is a tool. Don't be a tool. Being glam is a tool. Your appearance assists your network to connect with you more easily, listen free of distraction, remember you and your message. If you would like to connect with me, feel free to take a photo of this screen and send me an email or a text and request a complimentary 20-minute phone call or Zoom call if you've got some further thoughts or questions or things you'd love to discuss as a result of this. And I do offer consultations around helping people set up their image for online, and happy to have a chat if you've got questions about that. I also do other things, but I think I'll just leave it there and see if I'll stop the screen share. Have you got a photo of that if you need it, or just email Darren? Okay, stop share.